All
What
right.
is it cold up there, Ryan?
Not too
Already?
bad.
Okay.
60s.
Yeah. Chilly then still. Huh. So found a clip of a very well-known leader in the church world. Any one of the many denominations, I wouldn't know which one, nor give it much attention. Each one to its own, competing with the other ones. Um, and he's going on and on about whether or not he's going to go to hell, as
Wow.
though he might seriously go to hell, and how he may have deceived himself his entire life, and that he's continually been a sinner, and he might deserve going to hell.
Huh.
So, certainly, here, even in his lifetime, is an example of what this infectious, lying, deceitful, life destroying, life robbing, worrisome, doubt producing, fearsome doctrine does to a person. Here you've got this leader who's so well respected and well known
Selling all kinds
worldwide,
of
probably. Yeah,
books.
delving deep. Yeah, delving deep into how he may be going to hell, and he might not be surprised. And then describing what he would be like, what kind of person and how he would be like, going into that kind of detail
Wow.
about a life. I believe and I see that it's produced guilt in him. He doesn't know or understand, which is understandable. Father, forgive him, for we all have that time when we know not what we do. Only when we embrace a humility that God gives us to serve and obey God do we ever start to clear up. But he's still stuck in the muck and the mire, worrying about himself, admitting how he's been a lifelong sinner, might be deserving of hell, and what kind of person he will be in hell if he wakes up in hell.
Okay, I haven't seen this, so this will
Well,
be
he's
interesting.
he's suffering the results of his own belief in a lie. Here is an example of a person who is currently in this life suffering the consequences, one of them, of having taught and believing in hell. He's got himself in it, let alone people that have taught that all their life, like what's the guy in Texas that teaches about hell a lot? The real big guy, and he's sort of an Israel.
Hmm.
Anyway, he's on TV. Most people know him. I can't think of his name right now. Just as well. Uh, so yeah, okay. Well, I'll go ahead and play it, and we can see for ourselves. But it's caused, I believe, a guilt in him that he's now suffering. Um,
Sounds like it.
Not unlike what God would do and has done, does in correcting someone by letting them live out that false belief in order to see it for themselves. They'll live in it. This is part of how God judges. Gives us over, for example, to a reprobate mind. At that point in our life, when we are being so disobedient and have no love for the truth, God turns us over to a reprobate mind, and we just indulge ourselves deeper and deeper into the world of error and missing the mark they call sin until we're tired of it. If we're chosen to come back around, you know, few people do. And at most, they might just find themselves behaving themselves with a group of good people in any one of the many buildings on Sunday. That helps, no doubt, helps turn people around, no doubt. But it's a settling and they get stuck there, and pretty soon it will be worse for the wearer, for they're learning nothing and stuck in some traditional belief with nowhere to go. And that becomes disheartening over time. So here we have this gentleman speaking, and I'll get over to him here and start it up.
Okay.
In that place.
Oh, I have to bring it on board first.
Yeah.
Share screen, right. Okay. Chrome tab. A little lesson in sharing a screen with StreamYard. Okay. Share, and boom.
It'll be weeping and gnashing. Some people, when they wake up in hell, will be devastated. And they won't find enough water in their eyes to satisfy their need to weep. They'll be sobbing. Oh no! Not here! Oh God, please have mercy upon me.
No mercy.
The greatest disappointment they could possibly experience to wake up in hell. But then the other group will be there, won't be weeping a bit. They'll be gnashing the teeth, which is a biblical metaphor for human. How dare you, God, be here? The anger of the damned will know no. I said, I sure don't want to end up in hell. One thing I know for sure, if I do, if I've deceived myself all these years, and I find one who says, well, Lord, Lord, didn't I do this and didn't I do that? And he looks at me and says, please save, I don't know you. And he sends me to hell. One thing I can promise you, I'll be a weeper, not a masher. If I don't know anything about theology, I know that if he sent me to hell tonight, I could make no just claim. Guilty of treason, cosmic treason. Every time I have sinned, I have asserted my will over the will of my creation. I have declared that I am sovereign, not the will of God. I've worked against his kingdom, not for it. I've sinned against the holy and infinitely righteous being who owes me nothing. I wake up in hell. I will realize I have only received what my life has merited. Not cruelty, not injustice, but perfect justice. Understand? So I don't want to go there. I don't want anyone else to go there. Even though I love the majesty of God as a fallen human being, I have so much more in common with my comrades in the flesh. So I have so much sympathy to think of anybody in hell. In fact, I don't think I would believe in hell if it were not taught so clearly by Jesus himself. Did you know that Jesus taught more about hell than he did about heaven?
Oh boy.
I don't want to end on a hell of a note. I'm going to go just a couple of verses before this, where in verse 18, Jesus said, what is the kingdom of God like? What shall I compare it? like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his garden. It grew and became a tree, and the birds of the air made nests in its branches. Jesus, every time we listen to you, you're talking about the kingdom of God. We don't even know what you're talking about. What's it like? He says, what's like that almost infinitesimally small seed that you plant and you water? Then it pokes its little head through the earth, a little spray. It begins to grow and expand, not just to a bush, but to a tree of 10 or 15 feet high with a vast outreach of branches so thick that birds of all kinds of different varieties can come and nest in its branches. Not just land there for a few seconds, but build a nest in there. The kingdom of God is something that begins so tiny, it's imperceptible. But blossoms and blooms and grows and expands. We are mustard seeds in a dying world.
Well, he's sure not a very good example of that mustard seed. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, that was very negative and doubtful.
Did you hear me at all? What happened? Just real quick. I mean, you couldn't hear. I don't
No,
know.
I heard you. I was muted.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, he's not a very good example if he still feels and experiences the threat enough to speak at the end of his life and at the end of this seminar or whatever he was having and dressed for the occasion in his religious business attire, to spend so much time on questioning whether or not he may be in hell or not, and what type of person he would be when he's in hell, and he wouldn't be surprised, and he would, as he said, literally not question God's judgment if he found himself in hell, which, as we understand and know clearly, if he found himself inside a lie that never existed, which was in his imagination now, and he woke up one day and found himself being tortured in his own imagination. That's maybe a decent description of what he's doing right here.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows?
Well, he's
He's
certainly living in his imagination, imagining that there's a hell, and he's
and
made a commitment to it all his life.
he said he wouldn't even believe in hell if it wasn't for Jesus speaking more about hell than heaven.
Right.
So he doesn't even maybe even want to believe it, but he believes it because Jesus spoke about it more than heaven.
Where does he even get that?
Oh, that's maybe a very popular saying.
Yeah, I know.
Might be like top 10 or top 5. Maybe even top 3. I don't know. In all of Christianity, everyone knows that.
Well, and the entire gospel is speaking of and out of the mind and heart of Christ. So as Christ speaks out of the mind and heart of Christ through the beliefs that make up what his mind and heart are, living as we do, as a man, as our example, is about hell.
Right, there was a judgment for Jerusalem. Nobody seems to get the context for the judgment verses either. It's like all the judgment verses in the Old Testament on Israel being punished and blessed and cursed. They were still under the law. So all those judgment verses were warnings that judgment was coming for Jerusalem again. It wasn't talking about being burned in real fire, after death for all eternity. I just can't see how people can't see that. Uh, Suddenly, all the judgment verses have to do with Christianity's doctrine of hell and not the actual context of God's people, his old kingdom at the time, carnal Hebrew Jews
But
ready to be judged.
maybe we could say this is a good example of what the power of tradition does to
Oh,
people's lives and their hearts and minds. They've heard it so many times by so many people that they've respected authority figures, appeasing the authority, living up to those that they want to emulate and be in their life as a career also. They hear it so often that what do they say about, you repeat a lie so many times and people believe it as though it's a, governmental type of approach to indoctrinate people. Marx or somebody said something like this. One of Hitler's gangs, their propaganda guy, repeat a lie often enough and soon people will believe it. And, he always wanted to be probably a preacher from way back. And to be a preacher, you do and speak and say and believe what preachers do, regardless of whether or not it's true or makes any spiritual sense at all, whether or not it contradicts everything God is about or not, which is what it does. That's crazy.
yeah, no, that is.
And here, I guess, we could speak again to the power of tradition. God said,
It, the,
traditions of men will make my word, my
no
love and
effect.
truth have no effect.
Wow, how true
You,
that is.
evidently,
They can't see that this doctrine and many others that which is part of their tradition, reading the Bible, everything they read is like just completely wrong, out of context, not to the truth. That tradition is glossing over all the truth behind it. Like some people say,
sure,
reading with whatever those rose-colored glasses or
right.
something like that.
Once you have a significant lie like that, it's corrupting every other belief to some degree, like a rotten apple in a barrel of apples, or
Yeah,
the
they
biblical cliche, a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. So you have a significant lie that affects and infiltrates and infects God's truth, and you don't have a clue. Everything is infected. It's all ruined. And then you're going to
yeah
sell it and you're going to make a career out of it,
they
where
they
the word career, where the word to profit, to sell, to market, to commercialize in Greek is the word to corrupt. It
they
automatically corrupts it because you're incorporating a man made agenda into God's truth. My agenda, what I want to do in another world that offers me rewards and benefits that are earthly and worldly, I'm going to corrupt God's truth with my goal, agenda, and intention to get what I want at the same time I'm teaching something of God, of truth.
that's exactly what it does. And key words like destruction, lost, hell, which is not even a translation, they see those words, and every word that's even close to that is just hell. There's no application to this life. To be lost, the prodigal son was lost. That word means destroyed. That's the actual word, apollume, Greek word, means to destroy. He was destroyed, and he didn't burn in hell. He was lost in the condition, in his ways and beliefs, and it gives the example of eating pig food or whatever, of how lost that person is in this life, and then coming back in this life. It's all the context is in this life. That's when else are you going to learn about God? And for those who are being called and chosen, it's in this life. That's what all the teachings are for
Yeah,
the few,
well,
the
we live
chosen.
by every word. Right. Here's an
Yeah,
example. And in the judgment he experienced in that life he lived, judgment is on the house of God now. Those
yeah,
few that are chosen are given to understand and embrace that they're living under God's judgment now, and their reaction is not to run away, not to not understand it, not to not accept it, not to see it, but to see it and understand it and embrace it and take it serious as a process of becoming more and more obedient. And we experience the rewards and benefits of it. And in his life, the prodigal son, he experienced the judgment, a type and shadow of what God has working now. But in the Old Testament, he suffered the consequences of his decision, right? He was eating with pigs and living a miserable life, and he was humbled by the evil experience that God gives a man to humble him. Huh, you don't hear that on Sunday. And so he comes with a humble spirit back to his father. And what's his father do? Send him to hell and torture him forever, which is what the brothers, the many, the example of the many in type and shadow, would like to see. And they were mad when the father killed the fatted cow and had a great celebration that his son was back with a new spirit and a new heart and was changed. And his father celebrated and gave him gifts.
yeah. That other one was just a little bit jealous too, and it's
Or
kind of like that.
the other brothers, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, his
that
brothers were not happy about this. They were like, he spent his inheritance, he wasted it. He doesn't deserve anything else. And you're going to celebrate?
that's a
So,
great example of the
a,
mindset that a
a,
lot of Christians have with this doctrine. It's that exact same teaching
oh,
right there.
yeah. Well, they represent the many. Yeah, the
Yeah,
many. He's one. The sheep, the 99 and the one. The parable is about the one lost sheep that knows it's lost and needs to be found, and not about the 99, which exemplify the many, which are only called and invited and are not really chosen, and nor are they growing or maturing in the spirit of Christ. They never needed it. They already had what they wanted. They were found. They never got lost. They were never lost. They were saved at 7, born again at 11.
yeah, and doesn't Christ also that matches that perfectly? He says a physician comes to heal the sick, not people who don't need any healing at all. It's kind of
That's
like
true.
telling the Pharisees, "Yeah, you don't need healing. I'm not going to heal you. You're already good."
Right,
That's what he was saying.
right.
Yeah, who
That's the
catches that?
that's the characteristic of God's chosen few, is they've seen so much evil in the world, they've just had it. But yet they stand against it and they don't participate, don't even try to accept it or embrace or to get along with it. They're on a road of searching. I've got to find another answer if I'm going to live on. There's got to be something else other than what's in this world, nothing but full of evil continually. Those are the people that God chooses, that are seeking to be healed and saved and know they need to be, or they could die. They're not going to join it. And they don't fit in either, because they
No.
never do embrace it. No, no, they'd rather stay at home and do nothing than go out there and pursue that life the rest of their life. They might do it for a while and suffer the consequence. And a lot of people will be rewarded by their pursuit of it. Just go along to get along, lie, steal, do as much as you can to get what you want. And then people get good at that. They become real successful. And they're looked up to as successful people.
Yeah, they forget about what little they knew about God at that point because they did it. So they don't need healing. So
Oh,
Christ stays away from them. He didn't come to heal those who are not sick.
anyone who's done really well in this world, you can bet for sure it's an absolute given. It's past a red flag. They are working and cooperating with the evil of this world. They are successful in and of the world. Hello. of what?
Yeah.
Of the world's ways and beliefs.
Right.
What makes it turn? Going after money, success, what everybody idolizes and is presented as the ideals and the benefits and the rewards of this life. God separates a few people who come to actually see and understand and believe and live and act. For belief is a verb, so it includes acting. Acting on what it takes to pursue the benefits in heaven, the benefits and the rewards that go on and last forever, rather than the temporary things.
Yeah.
You got any final words on this, Ryan? And we'll close it out.
No, just the ability to know and acknowledge that you need help is crucial. It's only those people that God helps, that have a humble heart. He's not
Well, no
gonna
doubt. And
the
humble.
prideful he resists, and those people who make lots of money and are rich and famous, pride comes with it. You can't separate it. It's like a glue, pride with all those things, because that's the natural beast speaking in you, you know. I did
No
it. I
doubt.
accomplished it. I'm the man. I'm the king.
Yeah, well, you have to develop a prideful, self-righteous, I'm better than you, I'm as good as you, and probably better. Let's test it. Let's compete. Let's fight. Let's struggle. And let's see who can accumulate more rewards and benefits and power of this world than the other person. Yeah, and sure, humble by being beat down with no other place to go, admitting the fact that one is lost and doesn't
Yeah.
have any place to go, and then God humbles further by a godly humbling, by giving understanding that this experience is evil, and it's brought us to a point where God can give us a true humility, a humility from God, not a humility of our own making. You might hear somebody say, well, I think I need to act more humble and be more humble. Not going to happen. That prideful, self-righteous, worldly conforming identity cannot become humble. It might act humble for a while, but in any moment, that lack of true humility can come out and kill as many people as it did, or stomp on as many people as it did, before it started on its own process of personal appearance of humility.
Right. Yeah.
Anything else to close it out, Ryan?
No.
All right, we'll end it here and start another time.
All right.
All right,
Later.
later.